I've been agonizing over this issue about people who are giving gift cards and having to remove a bunch of bot activity. And what can we do to help these projects that are giving away something like a gift card or Amazon thing? And there's new ways that are coming out from REDCap that's going to make this even more exciting. But all that's, I mean, when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the gift card thing. I'm trying to figure out how we can best help everybody block these fake um, data entries. Okay. So you've posted a survey out there, a link, and you're hoping people will click on it. They'll enroll in your study. You're going to give them something for participating or something along those lines. So, what can REDCap do to help you out? So, I found this article on the internet that I thought was really good. So, I mean, this is all about like research and stuff, and surveys and how do you save your data. But anyway, it comes down to three things: speeders, cheaters, and bots. And speeders are looking at a way of earning supplemental income, so they're not really thinking much about their response. They're just trying to do what they can for uh, answering as quickly as possible to get their money. Then there's cheaters answering questions, um, not honest, but get them through the survey quickly, blah, blah, blah. And then there's these bots, which are 100% fake, which is more the focus, not entirely my focus, but more my focus on what I want to talk about today. So there are some points in this little article that I found, how they're defining speeders. And, because they're finishing so much faster than anybody else, you're going to say that it can't be right. And then there's the cheaters, you know, how do you try and catch the cheaters and how do you stop the bots? All right. So in doing my research, and I've told the rest of my team this, the first thing I sort of found was we have been suggesting that everybody, as a start, go into survey distribution tools for your survey and check the protect the survey public survey using the Google reCAPTCHA feature. Okay. In testing on a couple different projects that were having issues, I know I probably should have realized this long ago, but it turns out that REDCap, and when I was at the REDCap conference, I specifically went up to the guy that developed it and asked him, I said, so when people check this box, is this response being stored as a cookie on your system? If it is, that means that somebody's going to only open this survey once, use the reCAPTCHA feature, and never have to use it again. And it just opens the floodgates for them for entering as much as they want. And it turned out the answer is yes, they do store a cookie that lasts at least through the end of the day. I find that problematic especially if you're giving a gift card. So there's a couple other external modules out there. There's one that's called REDCapTCHA, which we have been having some trouble with recently because it seems to be cycling, asking the same question over and over again rather than taking you to the survey, which of course is endlessly aggravating. But there's another one out there called REDCapTCHA. So if I look at my external modules and I can find REDCapTCHA and add that to my external modules, This, in fact, does not store the cookie. So every time you hit that survey, you're going to have to authenticate, which it's not just, clicking on the, yeah, I'm not a bot, but also, there's a two-step process. You also have to sort of submit that to get you to the first instrument. And, I'll just demonstrate that because, you as a designer, if you're like me, you just automatically thought that when you check this box here, that you were protected by any, every time somebody hit that link. And in a normal project, you would think that's fine because only one person's going to hit it from their computer, and it's not going to be a deal. Nobody really cares to apply a bot when there's no real reward necessarily. But they do when there is some type of reward. So anyway, first step, stop using this. It's built in. I did not know that this was storing a cookie and can be hit multiple times without having to use the reCAPTCHA feature. Add the REDCAPTCHA feature as an external module. So that's a start. So I built this demo project, it won't be as good as what Manny would have done, but I'm doing my best here to try and give you some other options about what you can do to try and keep people from hitting you incorrectly. So one thing that may work depending on the type of project that you have and may not work, but I'm going to throw that out there, is going to the project setup, going to the additional customizations and indicating an email field. You're going to use that as a secondary unique field so that it will not accept two email addresses that are the same. Now, of course, if you have a project where you could be accepting email account information from a husband and wife that use the same email account, then that's not going to really work. But it is a tool that you have in your toolbox to try and help keep duplicates out of there. Second, I might suggest the external module here, which is check for duplicates across multiple projects. Now, yes, you're not going to use multiple projects. You're just going to use your own project. You don't have to check for duplicates in multiple projects. So if you look at the configuration, basically, you're just going to find your project, which is this one that I have loaded here. And you're going to say, well, if I find the first name and the last name the same, then it may be duplicate and I want to take another look at it. And of course, my little survey here only has a few fields, but this could be far more relevant for you if you were looking for something else. And if you wanted to add an email field here, it depends. You might have to play around with it, but I just want to make sure that this is available. We've done a demo on this before, but as it relates to trying to prevent or recognize records that are part of an attempted hijack of your project, then you can come into the external modules and check for duplicates in this project. And if it finds anything, and I just have it set up for first name and last name, and I have 2 records in here with my name on it, and it tells you what records for you to look at. So if you come in and you look at the record status dashboard and you look at record 1, you see, here's this. And then if you go into record 2, you see the same, but a different email address. If I would have added the email address, it would have not picked up the duplicate. Anyway, so that's a feature you could play with to try to get something to catch some duplicates along with maybe some fake entries. Another thing that I was playing with is this. Invariably, we find people that are getting hit by bots, their initial instrument is getting filled in way too fast. And this is ideal if you have a relatively lengthy first instrument. If you're not giving any thought to the entries and you're just having a bot go through and fill in some stuff and then off you go, then it'll be faster than if you give it any thought. So what I added was a completion, the time it takes for you to complete a survey. And this is a relatively simple equation, but it uses some relatively new smart variables. So if you come down here and look, it's simply, and I rounded this off for seconds, but the time the survey was started on this instrument and the time the survey was completed for this instrument. And you round that off. And so then you see how many seconds something takes. And then if you go to your reports and you create some kind of report that, you know, looks for possible action, then if we just take a look at what I did here, I just took my ID and my completion time, and then you could filter something to say, hey, if it took less than 12 seconds, then this is going to be suspicious and I want to take a look at it, or I want to delete everything that took less than 15, 20 seconds, depending on the size of your instrument, obviously. So then when you run this, and I know this isn't exactly optimal, but it does, whoops, thought I ran that. It gives you all of those that took less than 12 seconds. So these are the ones that it doesn't tell you the completion time. It's not populating the completed calculation. It's not showing the calculated response here. And I stuck in the survey timestamp just as an example, because you don't, if you look at the design, it gives you an option here to include survey identifier field, which is not relevant to your project, probably because survey identifier fields they would have deprecated them years ago if they could have. They don't really like the use of survey identifier fields. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you go to the survey and participant list, then here are your participant identifiers, which are kind of the same thing as what they're talking about. So there is none here, so I'm just showing the timestamp just so you could see. So it's a way for you to sort of filter down and find those records that are suspicious. And the little article, you know, gave some metrics about what you might look for. I'm not so sure, you know, we need to think quite as in depth as that. You know, maybe that's a little bit more than we need to, but it gives you a good idea of what to look for speeders versus non-speeders. All right. What else did I do here? Oh, the one I kind of liked also was if there was a way of randomizing the questions on your instrument with like a single appropriate response. And we did Michael did a presentation on randomizing questions, and you could randomize forms. I just took the easiest route here with a matrix, probably relatively simple, but if you look at the matrix, there's one question that's relevant that's going to be definitely yes. Are you interested in the gift card? And then you're looking for only no's beside that. Do you live in the Vatican City? No. And do you live on the Cook Islands? No. So there's only one right answer here, but if you constantly are shifting them around, then a bot's going to have a hard time in getting the right question more than once. So again, to kind of show how that manifests. So it starts with, even though this looks identical to the first reCAPTCHA instance that's built into REDCap, it will not show up again on my computer for this project, or maybe any project, because it's going to store a cookie. But this is using the external variable, or the external module. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to submit this. All right, so then whatever. All right, so then you get into your survey and notice that the first one that you built in was, are you interested in the gift card? The second was Vatican City and Cook Islands. So it has shifted these around. So the only usable response for you would be, yes, you're interested in the gift card. That's all you care about. The rest, it has to be yes, and all the rest of these have to be non-yes answers. And you can take that logic in other ways, where you create only one answer, and if it's a bot and it's trying to hit random responses or whatever, then it may cut down on the number of actual fake data that you get. But I like the idea of randomizing either questions if it's appropriate, and it doesn't have to be too complicated for your participant. And I just think that using I guess I didn't say, I used the matrix question randomization external module for this. And then just configured it to say, all you need to do is identify the matrix group you want to randomize. You can randomize more than one. And we have demoed this also, but this is just, I'm trying to grab those tools that can help cut down on this fake data that's getting into these projects that have some kind of reward. So other people may have other thoughts on this. There's also, just so you know, and I almost added this to demo, but so there is a well, what is it that I saw? I'm sorry, I should know. Wow. Oh, cheat blocker. Thank you. Cheat blocker looked kind of interesting also. I'm not quite sure how effective this would be. I really need to do a deeper dive on this, and demo this. Maybe one of our other staff members could get into this. Michael, maybe you could look at this for me and then demo it one Thursday. But basically, this walks through a process to try and prevent these people that are labeled as cheaters from filling out your survey. So that's all I got for you, really. Those are the tools that I hope will cut down on some of this fake data. So remember, red CAPTCHA, not reCAPTCHA. And the funny thing is, this is exactly the same. Red CAPTCHA is a feature of Google reCAPTCHA. That's exactly the same as the one built in here. This is the Google reCAPTCHA feature. The only difference is the external module does not use the cookie. Thus, every time I come in here, I am going to have to submit this for authentication. Any questions from my team and plus Carrie, my team +1?
I have a question.
Uh-oh, go for it.
And it's just probably because it's not updated. So I'm looking in REDCap community as you're doing this for REDCapTCHA, wanting to make sure it, if it's compatible with our multi-language management. And I'm coming across a comment here that was 6/27/2023. It says the REDCapTCHA external module has been retired.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was more or less retired. It's not getting new updates because it was in theory deprecated. It was never removed or anything. It's still available to everybody because they integrated it into REDCap a long time ago because they're using the same feature. However, the key point about that is this one is using cookies. That old
one isn't. Okay.
That old one is not, which is, a gold mine. And yeah, if at some point they fully deprecated it somehow from REDCap, I'm not going to disable it. I'll tell you that. At no point will we remove it from being available to our users. But I did bring it up with Vanderbilt and to say that, and they won't really comment on any external modules because Vanderbilt doesn't have anything to do with the build of an external module. Those are all quote unquote external modules, not something that. And although Vanderbilt staff build external modules, they are not part of the core REDCap product. Now, many of them have been integrated into the core once Vanderbilt realizes this is a slick feature that we really should add. So a good example is the reCAPTCHA here. And then a variation on that theme is the multi-language management tool that's been added to here, came from the multilingual external module in its development. And so they deprecated the external module in lieu of the one that's built in. And as we know, we are moving everybody over from the old external module to the built-in because there is some conflict between the two being in REDCap at the same time. So That's why we're moving everyone over. Um, but your point is well taken that, but our users would have to have access to what you just looked at to see that. And, you don't see when you look at the information about the external module or any of that as to whether it stores cookies or not. You have to go to the developer themselves or do the testing. So like I told everybody earlier today, Vernon, Michael Lukács, and myself, banged at this for a while until all of a sudden we realized they had to be storing cookies, which none of us thought was a good idea. So that's why I started checking the other external modules and found that the external module reCAPTCHA works perfectly for what we want it to, as far as trying to prevent excess hits on projects that have gift cards. Only if you just have a normal project, you're not giving anything away, you're not incentivized, and you still want to protect the security of your survey, absolutely use the built-in reCAPTCHA feature. Otherwise, and truly, I don't see the value of storing that cookie, but other people are a lot more knowledgeable about this than myself. I only care about making sure that our users are not compromised in their gift card type projects.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even know that, that information would show up on the community site. But again, you could see that, but none of our users would be able to see that. But it's good to know. In my comments to Vanderbilt on the community site, I did mention that we would no longer use the built-in reCAPTCHA and would use Andy Martin's external module just because it does not store cookies. And, I haven't even looked back to see if anybody commented on that, but I don't see the value of storing that at all, but there may be some that I just don't see. Anything else? Nope. Okay, so just to give Carrie something to look forward to next week when she may be the only one here. One of the so we didn't have Red Zone last week because we were all at the REDCap conference in Seattle, or some of us were. One of the things we brought back is every year, and I've been at 10 of these so far, but every year they present some kind of creative use for REDCap using only what the tools that are available in REDCap, no external modules. How to do things in unique and really awesome ways, how to provide your project with some solutions just using the REDCap application. So we're going to be digging through those over the next couple months because the problem with them in the past was we would get the slide deck for the conference months after the conference ended. And by that time, you had forgotten what they had shown, or, it was too difficult to translate what was in the slide versus, what you wanted to interpret out of it. And this year they went to the trouble of creating a repository now of all the external modules that are external creative uses that they've ever created. So now we have these to pour through, find some fun things that we can demo, and maybe make life a little more enjoyable in the REDCap arena for all of you. And we'll record those and then post those also on the YouTube site and on our website. So something to look forward to. Other than that, I will just go ahead and let everybody go and enjoy the rest of their day. Thank you for joining, Carrie, and I'll see you next week, hopefully at the Red Zone at 1 o'clock. We'll be here. Thanks. Goodbye to everybody.